Hey Moto Warriors, I just wanted to say thanks in advance for watching. I appreciate y'all. Sorry about the cable being in the way. I didn't realize that it was there until after I already shot the footage.
People that know me know that I have a sense of humor and that I would rather make someone laugh than make them angry. Laughing is much better than being angry. You know, the Bible says that a merry heart does good like a medicine. Contrary to my nature of wanting to be humorous, I have to bring up a really kind of serious topic. And I know that a lot of you are going to be brought down by this topic and really be upset that I'm even mentioning this, but it needs to be talked about. So, that being the groundwork for this subject, I really need to discuss today armpits. Armpits are kind of a touchy subject with some people and a stinky subject with others. And they can be pretty serious too. So the whole point of the topic, armpits, is calling into question the reason they're called a pit. People say, oh man, your pit stink, or your hair fell out of his pit, or sweat was dripping from out of his pit into the stew. And the image I get is that stereotype of a cook in a diner, you know, some greasy spoon, where he's got this cigarette dangling, you know, in his mouth, and this inch-long piece of ash dangling precariously over the stew he's about to serve you, wearing a t-shirt, and it has a tattoo of a heart with an arrow going through it with, you know, mom on the inside. The whole thing of pit. Now think about it this way. When you think of the word a pit, you know, the word pit, you think of something that a person dug to throw things in or to have things fall into. You know, if you're walking along and somebody dug a pit and you weren't paying attention, or it was covered with light branches and leaves or whatever, and you fell into the pit, you could climb out of the pit if you were fortunate enough to do so, or someone could lower you a ladder or a rope and you could climb out of the pit that way. Someone could even reach down and grab your hand and jerk you up out of the pit. Or you could even build some kind of launching system that would somehow propel you, thrust you up out of the pit. But you wouldn't just sit there and fall up and out of the pit. Now, things fall into pits, they don't fall out of pits. So if you think of that stereotype cook again, and he's stirring with his armpit over your stew you're about to eat, sweat might fall out of his pit, and hair might fall out of his pit. Whatever types of crusty things he scratches with his fingernails may fall out of his pit, but things don't fall into his pit, up into his pit. I mean, can you imagine if he's stirring with his armpit over your food and a piece of potato or a piece of beef or grease or whatever jumps up and sticks into his pit because it fell out of the pot, up into his pit. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. You know, things fall into a pit, but when it comes to an armpit, things fall out of the pit to intermingle with the stew that you're about to unknowingly eat, that maybe has his hairs or his pit sweat or his pit scratchings into your stew. You know, bon appetit. So if you're somebody that's watching this video that enjoys armpits, hey, I'm not knocking you. You know, I believe that you're entitled to do your thing, and if you're fine with that, with your fascination with armpits, then, you know, that's between you and him, or you and your significant other, or you and yourself. My inquisitive nature makes me wonder how it got called a pit when things fall from it, not into it. And if you know that, I mean, I could do the research. I've got plenty of education where I could sit and look all this stuff up for myself if I was so inclined, but it really doesn't fascinate me that much, or I'm not really into armpits that much where I'd really want to take the time to go look up, you know, how it became called a armpit. Now, I know that biologically speaking, or physiologically speaking, I took comparative anatomy, and when I was originally going to go into veterinary medicine, and I know that there is a biological term for it, and it's not armpit. I forget off the top of my head what it's called. The name, you know, eludes me at the moment. If I dwelled on it and thought about it, I could go back through things that I've learned in the past, and I could draw that up and ultimately remember. But like I said, don't really care that much about what it's actually called, because my concern is not what it's called biologically. It's how did it get to be called an armpit when things fall from it, not into it. So anyway, that's my serious topic for the day. If you know something about how it got to be called an armpit, then leave a comment. Tell the rest of us about it so we don't have to go look it up. And if you haven't, then leave a comment telling us that you haven't. If you think that you've enjoyed my serious topic for the day, then leave a comment about that as well. Either way, you know, I appreciate your comments and your feedback. And